Welcome to the FinGlimpse podcast, where we analyze the world of business, finance, and the economy. We cover the latest market news, economic trends, and some interesting businesses. As a standard disclaimer, this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered investment advice. Always do your own research. Now, let's get started.
Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we are jumping into a topic that's just absolutely foundational for, well, any business operating today. Driving real, tangible value by optimizing the cloud.
Yeah, and we've been really digging into a fascinating source for this one. It's an executive briefing paper produced with MIT Technology Review Insights.
Okay.
And our mission really is to unpack this. We want to get under the hood of what cloud optimization really is.
Beyond the buzzwords.
Exactly. Why it's so critical now and, how companies are actually doing it well, how they're unlocking value that goes way beyond just cutting IT costs.
And the scale here is just huge. I mean, there's this number in the source that really jumped out at me.
Which one?
Companies worldwide spent, get this, $84 billion on cloud infrastructure services in just Q3 of 2024. That's up 23% from the year before.
23%. That's massive growth.
It is. But the paper makes a really critical point. Despite all that spending, all that investment, a lot of those cloud workloads, they aren't actually optimized. Not for efficiency, not for performance.
Right. So there's potential being left on the table.
A lot of potential, it seems. It limits what they can actually achieve.
Exactly right. And that huge spend really underscores why just using the cloud isn't the whole story anymore. You have to use it well. And, when most people hear cloud optimization, the first thing that pops into their head is usually cost.
Cutting the bill.
Yeah, cost reduction. The basic idea, pick and allocate resources efficiently, save money, keep performance high. And that's definitely part of it.
But only part. The paper makes it pretty clear pretty quickly that thinking is, well, too narrow.
It really broadens the perspective. Andre Dufour from AWS, he points out that, yes, cost savings are great, but it's not the only goal.
Okay.
Those dollars you free up through optimization, they can be reinvested strategically. He actually mentions funding totally new innovations like generative AI.
Interesting. So the savings become fuel for what's next.
Precisely. And what's really fascinating is how the source describes optimization as this multifaceted driver of business value. It really touches almost everything.
How so?
Well, it's not just saving money. It strengthens your security. It makes critical workloads more resilient. It'll be less likely to fail.
Which protects the customer experience, I imagine.
Directly. Ensures smooth service. It could even boost revenues by enabling new features or services faster. Yes, it saves costs, but those savings then fuel growth.
Right. And
help you avoid future costs by building smarter from the start. It's this powerful cycle.
A virtuous cycle, yeah. And Robert Ford from CoreStack seems to echo that. He says getting real value is about speed and scale, having the ability to tune the dials, as he puts it, not just for spend, but also for compliance and security all at once.
Right, pulling all those levers correctly. Yeah. Now, the paper also tackles some common misunderstandings, things executives often get wrong about cloud optimization.
Okay, like what? Dufour mentions these?
Yeah, according to him, these mistaken assumptions are often what holds companies back.
So what's misconception number one?
It's the idea that optimization is, a one-time project, something you do when you migrate or maybe during budget season, and then you're done.
Check the box. Move on.
Exactly. Like a quick fix. But the paper pushes back hard on that. It presents what they call the enlightened view.
Yes.
That it's not an event, it's a continuous lifestyle. Dufour actually calls it a continuous flywheel of improvement.
A flywheel. I like that analogy.
Yeah, think about it. Business needs change, tech changes constantly, priorities shift. Optimization has to be ongoing, baked into how you operate, especially when, the fundamentals change, like modernizing infrastructure.
Okay, that makes total sense. It has to keep pace because everything else is moving. What's the second big mistake people make?
It's that narrow focus we touched on, focusing only on reducing costs.
Right, the cost-cutting trap.
Yeah. Well, it's often the entry point. Thinking only about cost is really limiting.
So what's the broader view they advocate for?
They really push for looking at the cloud through a more comprehensive lens, often using frameworks like the 6 pillars of a well-architected system.
Which cover more than just cost.
Oh, yeah. Things like operational excellence, security, reliability, performance efficiency. then cost optimization, and also sustainability now too.
Okay.
And the argument is, when you optimize across all of these, you hit broader business goals, better security, more reliable services, you name it, and you also get efficiency gains that free up capital.
So it's not just about cutting, it's about building better, which then naturally leads to being more cost-effective.
You got it. Efficiency enables that reinvestment, that innovation.
Makes sense. And the third misconception.
This one's about the how. Assuming that there's like one single rigid optimization framework that you can just apply to everything, all your cloud workloads.
The one-size-fits-all problem. Why doesn't that work?
Well, because different apps, different services, they have vastly different needs, right?
Yeah.
The paper really highlights that the smart approach, the enlightened view, is diversified. It's tailored. I mean, you wouldn't demand the same level of resilience for a temporary test environment as you would for your main customer-facing application, would you?
No, definitely not.
Dufour uses that exact example. It shows where you can find real savings by tailoring the approach without compromising what's absolutely essential for critical services. It's about the right optimization for the right job.
That really loops back nicely to the idea that this isn't just some tech exercise in the corner. It's deeply connected to business value, to strategy.
Absolutely. Like Ford said, it enables that speed and scale.
Right.
And he actually offers a really practical framework for thinking about the value you get, how cloud and optimization help your investments.
Okay, what's the framework?
He breaks it down. You can use the cloud to, 1, create a new dollar, like a totally new revenue stream.
Build something new.
2, generate a dollar faster. Think about speeding up how quickly you process orders, that kind of thing.
Improve velocity.
3, stretch a dollar further. Get more value out of the money you're already spending. Or 4, simply save a dollar.
Create, generate faster, stretch, save. Okay. And the paper emphasizes that those savings shouldn't just disappear into the budget black hole.
No, definitely not. They need to be actively reinvested. Ford has this great line about it.
Yeah.
You need to look at the earn as much as the burn.
The earn as much as the burn. Explain that.
He means while optimizing costs is vital for controlling your spending rate, that's the burn, the real game changer, the thing that drives the business forward, is the top-line revenue, the earn that the cloud enables and optimization accelerates.
Okay. So it's about fueling growth, not just plugging leaks.
Exactly. It shifts the conversation from just managing a cost center to enabling strategic growth.
That's a powerful shift. The paper also gets really practical, right? It lays out steps, strategies companies are using. Joseph Wagner from Vanguard shared their approach.
Yeah, he did. They have a process for maximizing their cloud investments while balancing that tricky mix: cost, security, resilience, innovation.
So what's step 1 for them?
It starts with something fundamental but crucial. Inventory your mission-critical applications.
Know what matters most.
You have to. You need to understand which apps are absolutely vital to the business so you know exactly what level of security, reliability, and resilience they must have. No compromises there.
Okay, inventory first. Then what? Step 2.
Identify performance benchmarks. Once you know what's critical, you set really clear standards. Think uptime requirements, specific security rules they have to meet, standards for resilience, reliability, security.
Right.
And Wagner makes an interesting point here. He says having these clear standards actually enables innovation.
How does that work? Seems counterintuitive.
Well, because once you've defined the non-negotiables, the things you absolutely can't compromise on, you know where the boundaries are. You know where you can safely experiment without putting the core business at risk.
Freedom within a framework.
Okay. Which leads to step 3. Step 3. Conduct experiments, especially focused on lowering costs where possible. Wagner points out the cloud is built for this. Once your benchmarks are set, you can try different setups, different configurations.
Especially in non-prod environments, I guess.
Exactly, in non-production. Test things out. Figure out the most cost-effective way to meet those standards you set for the owners of those applications.
Makes sense. Test and learn. What's step 4?
Step 4 really hits the cultural aspect. Build a culture of standards and best practices. This can't just be an IT thing.
Needs buy-in from the top.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Senior leadership empowerment is crucial. Vanguard, for instance, they're applying the same standard-setting mindset to new tech, like generative AI, ensuring they use it effectively and responsibly.
Okay.
The core idea is integrating this optimization thinking into the day-to-day, into software development workflows, into IT operations. Dufour puts it really bluntly.
Yeah.
He says, every engineer or builder plays a role in cloud optimization. It needs to be part of everyone's job.
Wow. Not just a specialist team, everyone.
everyone. It's a fundamental shift in responsibility.
So beyond those vanguard steps, the source mentions other key strategies too.
Yeah, several important ones. One is pretty straightforward but often overlooked. Upskill your employees. Give teams the actual skills they need. Cloud knowledge, cost management tools, optimization techniques.
Invest in your people. Makes sense.
Another big one. Establish a cloud-focused center of excellence, a CCO.
What does that do?
It basically creates a central group responsible for governance, for developing and sharing best practices, and for enforcing key policies, security rules, access controls, standard architectural patterns. It brings consistency and expertise.
Like the guiding hand for cloud usage.
Sorta, yeah. And then there's one that really connects optimization back to the business value we talked about.
Which is?
Creating tight connections between finance teams and the business stakeholders. Stop tracking just technical metrics in isolation.
Like just tracking server latency.
Exactly. The paper argues you need business-centric KPIs for cloud. So instead of just latency, maybe measure order processing velocity, if that's what latency impacts.
Link it to a real business outcome.
Precisely. The KPIs need to align directly with business goals, growth, savings, security, whatever they are.
Okay. And the last big strategy.
Automate. Automate everything you possibly can. The paper strongly pushes using automation tools for, well, everything.
Yeah.
Provisioning resources, monitoring performance and cost, spotting optimization opportunities.
Why is automation so key here?
It spots anomalies faster than humans can. It reduces errors, cuts down tons of manual effort. Ford has another great quote here.
Let's hear it.
If something can be automated, automate it. If something is based on logic, AI is going to be able to do it for you.
Embrace the machines.
And Dufour adds a security angle, too. He says automation, especially using infrastructure as code, actually boosts security because it ensures your best practices are applied consistently every single time. No deviations.
Consistency through code. Okay. It helps to see how this plays out in the real world. The paper includes examples, right?
Oh, yeah, some really good ones. Really brings it to life.
Tell me about Dream Casino. What did they do?
So Dream Casino, they're in Norway. They really focused on optimizing their cloud infrastructure. And the results were pretty impressive.
How so?
They saw a 30% drop in costs, which is great, right?
Yeah, solid saving.
But also, they achieved a 50% reduction in their API response times, 50% faster.
Wow, that's huge for user experience.
Huge. And those savings, plus the better performance and scalability, it gave them the agility to expand. They moved into new markets, like focusing on Brazilian soccer betting specifically.
So optimization directly enabled business expansion.
Directly. Their CEO, Surjit Singh, he's quoted saying, they now have the flexibility to try something new and quickly deploy new services to test them out. That's a direct result of being efficient and optimized.
That speed is critical. What about BMC software? They're a big player.
Huge. They serve something like 90% of the world's largest companies. They used AWS's well-architected framework pretty systematically.
And the outcome?
Again, impressive. A 25% cut in cloud costs. But crucially, not just cost. They also saw big improvements in security, reliability, performance, operations across the board.
Following those pillars we talked about.
Exactly. And they explicitly said they reinvested those savings into new business opportunities. Their chief product officer, Gersteif, he said it allowed them to reach a bigger market.
How?
By being able to deliver their software in ways that better matched what their customers wanted or needed. So again, optimization wasn't just internal housekeeping. It unlocked external market reach.
Another great example of savings fueling growth. And didn't AWS share an internal example too?
He did, yeah. Dufour talked about how AWS used their own AI assistant, Amazon Q, to automate a really massive, complex job, modernizing thousands of their own internal cloud applications from older Java versions up to Java 17, across more than 1,000 dev teams.
That sounds like a monumental task to do manually.
Monumental. The results they quote are just staggering. They estimate it saved them over 4,500 years of developer effort.
Years.
Years. And resulted in $260 million in combined annual benefits, performance gains, and cost savings.
Yeah.
It really shows that even at massive scale, using cutting-edge tools like AI for optimization is critical.
Wow. Okay, so pulling all these threads together, the core message from the source seems crystal clear. Prioritizing cloud efficiency, it's not just about trimming the fat, although that's part of it.
Right.
It's really about making sure you're using the cloud strategically. It stops that cloud sprawl problem where things get messy and expensive.
Yeah, where you lose track of what you even have running.
And it makes you agile, able to react quickly when your business metrics change because your underlying infrastructure is lean and understood.
And ultimately, the source paints it as this virtuous cycle, like we said earlier.
Right.
Efficiency makes your operation smoother. That smoother operation frees up resources and headspace, which turbocharges innovation. And that innovation leads to better products, better services, which makes customers happier. It all feeds back.
So yeah, our big takeaway from this deep dive has to be that cloud optimization. It's way more than just a tech chore or an accounting exercise.
Absolutely.
It's fundamental, it's strategic, it directly hits your ability to innovate, to be secure, to be resilient, and ultimately to actually grow the business and increase revenue.
And mastering it gives companies incredible advantages. Deploying globally, almost instantly, scaling on demand without huge capital outlay.
Right.
And letting them focus their best people on what actually differentiates their business. Letting the cloud provider handle the undifferentiated heavy lifting, but doing it efficiently.
So given everything we've discussed, that optimization is this continuous journey, not a one-off fix.
A lifestyle.
And that every builder has a role to play. Here's maybe something for you, the listener, to think about. How might you start weaving these principles of cloud optimization, thinking about efficiency, yes, but also resilience, security, and value beyond just cost into your own work or your team's daily rhythm? Starting now. Not waiting for some big project or the next budget cycle, but actually making it part of the everyday process.
That's all for this episode of the FinGlimpse podcast. If you found our discussion insightful, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for future topics. Until next time, stay informed and make smart decisions. Goodbye.